All right, hey guys, we're going to pick back up with the middle colonies, and I'm going to talk with you about that. And remember that the essential questions and things are they're going to be covered in the New England colonies video. So when you get to that station, you should be able to take care of those if you've gone through all the others. If not, if you hadn't been through all the others, but you've gotten that one first, make sure you finish the essential questions when you finish the stations. Okay, so middle colonies are going to be New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And I can show you a picture of those. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, middle. Obviously, they're in the middle between the New England colonies and the southern colonies. Okay, so basically, you need to know what most Southerners don't quite realize, and that is that the middle was the most fertile farmland. So, therefore, you're going to see a lot of farms in this middle section. Today, when we think of New York, New Jersey, we think of large cities and overcrowdedness and just lots and lots of people. But actually, that's New York City, okay, and not necessarily New York State. So I have a couple of friends who are from New York originally, and they say, the perception down here of what New York really is incorrect because we think of it as New York City, when in fact most of New York is very agricultural based. So anyway, lots of fertile farmland. It says their main exports were wheat, processed wheat, which was flour. They're going to use the flour to make bread. Okay, so wheat, bread, very important staple here, and it's going to be used to be exported out of the colonies. All right, there's a population explosion in England that led to a big demand for wheat that was grown there, and this is going to lead to a rise in mercantilism. So you also need to understand that England is very small compared to the area that all these colonies have. So they see us, the colonies, as an area where we can farm and grow more because we have more land, and they can just come take it. So that's basic mercantilism. Okay, this population explosion will be fed by the wheat from the middle colonies. All right, let me show you a couple of pictures before I get any further. Here is sort of a colonial farming picture in New York. So you see the oxen and the plow, and lots of fertile land here to farm on. And I mentioned wheat, the wheat that's used to make bread, flour, other items. Wheat's going to become an important staple in the middle colonies. All right, and then let me tell you a little bit more about mercantilism, then I'll show you that picture. It says mercantilists in England want England to have the most economic power in the world. So, of course, they want England to have the most gold and silver. In order to do that, it says they set out to have England sell more than they purchase, which is good economic sense for anybody, any business, anybody. You want to sell more products than you buy in supplies or whatever. So that way you're making a profit. Profit is the actual money made after all the bills are paid and everything. So they want to sell more than they buy, and they want to be self-sufficient in these raw materials. So they want to be able to provide their own without paying a lot for them, but they don't have a lot of land to grow these staples, raw materials, tobacco or wheat, or have lumber and all that. So raw materials, literally a raw substance that's not been processed. So like tobacco straight out of the field, or chopping down trees to produce lumber. It's not furniture yet. It's the raw material. These mercantilists in England are going to see the colonies as the provider of their raw materials, either for free, they're going to expect the colonists to just give it, or at an extreme discount. So they may pay, but they're not going to pay really what they should. All right, so it says, that goes into navigation. Let me just hold on a second and show you this mercantilism cartoon, which is spot on. Okay, this shows the mother country, as like a queen. So you can think of this as England. And then these colonies are to wait hand and foot on the queen, the mother country, England, and they're to provide the raw materials, gold and silver that hasn't been refined but mined, foodstuffs. This would be like fish, um, tobacco, anything like that. That's which that's not food, but any kind of crop taken out of the field, and then other raw materials. I mentioned lumber, for example. So these basic resources that are in the colonies are to be taken and handed to the mother country on a silver platter, supposedly. Okay, so it says by 1620, King Charles II commands that all colonial trade be restricted to England. So they're going to restrict colonist trade to England. So you see, the colonists have been trading with France, with Spain. Now the king's going to say, oh, we need to narrow down who you're trading with because they don't want their rivals getting these raw materials. And it says they call this the Navigation Acts. Now, I think of it like a boat, and the boat navigates straight over to England. It cannot navigate any other place. Okay, they don't want them going to France. They don't want them going to Spain, the colonists, to sell these raw materials. So it says all goods to and from the colonies will be carried on English ships. So they know who's in charge there and who will make sure it gets to England with an English crew. By 1663, the Staple Act. So I think in addition to navigation, where all the ships have to go to England, through England, they're going to staple, not literally, but I think of it this way. They're going to staple this to the goods. Required all trade to go through England, where a high tax will be placed on it, like stapled onto it, and then the goods were shipped out to the colonies. So any kind of trade had to go through England. Like if they're getting something from France, the colonists, it had to go through England. England added a tax, then it went to the colonists. And the colonists pay this extra tax. They hate it, obviously. I mean, the mother country, England, has been coming over here and taking the colonists' raw materials for nothing or very little payment. And yet the colonists are, if they want to get anything from any other place outside of England, everything has to go through England, and the colonists have to pay an additional tax. I mean, it's totally not fair. So they start to smuggle, meaning they send out ships in the night and to these countries and load them up and send them out again and kind of break through these navigation acts, sneak in goods or sneak out goods. It says, in anger, King James II merged several New England and Middle colonies. So he's going to get really upset that they're smuggling. And he's going to decide, I'm just going to merge all these colonies and I'm going to put somebody in charge who will control the smuggling. New England and Middle, because remember, that's where most of the trade is coming from. So they were the ones smuggling the most. And he calls this area now Dominion of New England. So he's going to pretty much unite most of this territory and call it Dominion of New England. And he's going to ask a man by the name of Sir Edmund Andros, who is loyal to the king, to run these colonies and enforce the Navigation Acts. Make sure everything goes to England. Make sure that the colonists pay the Staple Act, the tax, etc. All right, let me show you a couple of things, and then we will close up here. A navigation document. This is the act in regards to shipping. It says navigation of this nation. So, it was basically where the colonists could send things to and how that was going to be treated. All right, on English ships with an English crew, all that. And then this one I like because it shows you, here's the king with all his ships that is going over to the colonies and getting the raw materials, iron, lumber, cotton, in the south even, but primarily up in here. But they're taking these raw materials and bringing them back over. This shows you that mercantilism idea, but also it shows you, it says most products could only be sold to England, like sugar, tobacco, indigo. These items could only go to England. It was unlawful for South Carolina to sell sugar sugarcane to France. So that's going to become an issue for these colonists because they don't like being told who they can and cannot trade with, and they're losing money. Okay, and here is Andros, just to show you him real quick. Dominion of New England. He's going to the king, and he will unite some of the New England and Middle colonies and call that Dominion of New England, and he will be in charge, Andros. Okay, all right, that is the Middle colonies. Hope you enjoyed that lovely video.